So I'd like to welcome you to Pietro's Ranieri Agency podcast number 6. In this series of podcasts, I'm trying to get an inside track into how the coronavirus is affecting businesses globally. Today, I'm pleased to have a brand expert based in Spain who specialises in the Latin American market. So I'm pleased to welcome Javier Martinez Hernandez, founder and managing director at 24/7 Degrees. 24/7 Degrees is a brand agency that helps lifestyle-inspired companies engage consumers and also communicate brand culture through distribution opportunities. They specialize in representing fashion, design, lifestyle, consumer electronics throughout Latin America, and have earned a reputation for doing outstanding work across multiple countries. So Javier, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Pietro. Thank you for joining. Thank you for having me here, man. Thank you.
No problem. Always welcome. You're a good friend. So just before we jump into the questions, I know Spain's had it pretty bad. I think it's the second worst affected country in Europe at the moment. And I just wanted to, extend our best wishes out there to everyone in Spain. We've got a lot of good friends out there, and it's tough for everyone at the moment.
Yes, thanks, man. Yeah, I think actually we are the first one. I think today was 18,000 cases and 185,000 infected. So it's been pretty bad, man. And every day we see the number of deaths is still growing. And I mean we are reaching this certain level of it's going at the same level, but it's still pretty bad, man. So hopefully things will change very soon, man. It's been very, very hard in Spain.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, the numbers that get read out in the news every day, like 18,000 deaths in just Spain alone. I mean, it's, we're at, I think, 11,000 something now in the UK. I mean, it's an incredible amount of people.
18,500, and it's like right now you see it's like 550 deaths a day. Still a lot, man. But it used to be like 1,000 a day. So pretty scary, man. The numbers are growing like crazy, and like 5,000 cases per day, 7,000 cases per day. So it's let's see. Hopefully, things will change very soon, man.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. So before we dive into the questions, Javier, do you want to tell us a bit more about 24/7 Degrees and just kind of what you're about?
Yeah, so we are, Pietro, we are an agency. We are based in Spain, and we do help and represent brands to develop business opportunities in Latin America. So we work for a bunch of cool brands like, Sphero, Aftershock, Nanolift, 12 South, and other, consumer electronics and accessory brands. And when brands, they want to expand the business into, and be global into Latin America, they collaborate and they work with us. So many brands, they might have business in US, Europe, and Asia Pacific, but sometimes they struggle to open Latin American region because of the language, of the culture, the time difference, of the duties. So we have been doing this for the past 9 years, and we have a solid network of brands and distributors from Mexico to Argentina, and our job is more than like an agency, is to like be part or an extension of the brands and helping to engage with those distributors, those retailers, and make sure we can expand their business in the whole region.
Yeah, cool. And which are the stronger countries in Latin America for consumer electronics?
I would say the strongest market will be Mexico, because I think for different reasons. One is it's a large population of people. It's 120 million people. It's very close to the US market. So the US is quite, brands who are based in the US, tends to be quite popular in Mexico. And also they have the largest retailer chains, like brand retailers like Best Buy in Mexico, Costco, Sam's Club, they have Office Depot, Radio Shack with 300 doors. And then they have also big like chains, department stores. So I would say 40% of the revenue should be Mexico for brands.
Yeah. So if a brand is already in, like say, Office Depot in North America, do you still need someone to help you get that product into the Latin American market?
Yeah. Of course, if the brand is in the US, it's easier to convince the buyer. Like for example, Costco Mexico only gets products that the US, call is selling. It's very difficult to implement a brand in Costco Mexico if it's not in the US. So I think buyers from Mexico, they're trying to see what's going on in the US. Also, like for example, Best Buy, if we want to go into Best Buy and the brand is already doing good in Best Buy US, it's easier. So they always look, not only the brands, also price is a very sensitive thing. So, you know, with all the taxes, duties, the price is super expensive. It's much more expensive in, for example, Mexico. And we need to find a way to, you know, be very close to the US price, because, you know, buyers and consumers will say, hey, listen, if it costs $100 in US, you know, why it costs 140 in Mexico? So it's also difficult to find this balance and make sure price is pretty much, you know, I would say 10% more expensive, 10, 15%. If it's more than that, it's not good.
Yeah, sure. So, Javier, thanks for explaining your company, by the way. So
yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So Spain is currently the second worst affected country in Europe to COVID-19 behind Italy, and you're further along than us, I think, in terms of lockdown and stuff. So are you guys still in lockdown at the moment? What's the kind of outlook for winding?
We're still at home. Since March 13, we have been in lockdown. The government allows some industries like builders and construction to start doing business 2 days ago, on Monday this week. But we have to be at home until the 26th of April. And I think the government is going to extend for another 2 weeks. So I think it's going to be at mid-May, man. It's going to be 2 months.
You were giving me some quite frightening figures earlier about the number of businesses that have already closed in Spain.
Yeah, it's more than 120,000 business closed, but for good. I mean, closed down. I mean, like small business.
This isn't closed just because of COVID-19. This is them gone bust.
Going bust, man. Out of business. I mean, and like some figures, you know, Spain is very, you know, famous because of the bars and the tapas. And I mean, 315,000 bars are closed right now. I mean, it's going to be tough for those guys to, you know, carry on, you know, for another month or 2 months with the business, you know, closed, and you have to pay employees and you have to pay rent. It's going to be hard, man. I mean, the longest we stay at home, of course, is necessary because we need to control the virus, but the economy is going to suffer big time, man.
Yeah, it's very interesting for me. We're doing these podcasts. I'm learning about kind of how the government is supporting businesses financially across all the different countries. And I mean, in the UK at the moment, if you're example, say a bar, so my local pub here in the village, I believe that all the employees are on furlough, so they can they'll carry on getting paid during this period, 80%, but it's still better than losing their job. I think you can't be thrown out now of your premises if you don't pay your rent. The government has stopped business rates for a year. There's no VAT payments until I think next year. So there's lots of, and you can also apply for Corona disruption loans as well from the banks that the government then backed by 80%. I think there's some other things as well, but I mean, for example, if you take my local pub, for example, they can basically they're just closed for business at the moment. The employees are kind of being paid. The rent they don't have to pay. There's no business rate. So it's just like everything's on pause. Yeah. But the question is, you know, like it's got to open at some point, but it sounds like in Spain that these guys are just not getting this kind of support that we get here.
We get some support. I mean, I don't think the government will pay for your rent. I mean, like I said, my brother owns some business here and he has to carry on paying rent. I think you need to go and talk to the landlord and renegotiate the terms and explain that the business is down. Yes, the government can help you to pay your employees for certain, you know, meanwhile the coronavirus is still, you know, active. And then you know, as we spoke before, you need to maintain your employees for the next 6 months. So you cannot use the virus as an excuse to fire people. So, and then of course there are some helps from the government, but still, man, it's going to be a massive impact on in the future. And like I said, I was saying to you before, my brother owns some jewelry business, and man, who wants to buy some jewelry after this, man? Is the last thing they want to buy is jewelry. So my brother will open the business in 2 months or 1 month. He has a few stores in Spain, and people with no money, with no cash, they need to buy food, they won't buy it. So many industries and businesses are going to suffer, and it's going to be.
So in places like Spain and Italy, you know, even if they just allow everybody to reopen the bars and the restaurants and stuff, I think countries like that rely quite heavily on tourism. And again, no one's going to be traveling. So, you know, everyone's already going to be down, like in potential revenue, especially in that kind of hospitality sector.
Yeah.
So,
And I think they're going to control, if you have a restaurant, you might have, imagine like 20 tables, you might be able to use only 10 tables. You know, you won't be able to have as many people as before in the premises. So,
yeah.
so it's gonna, yeah, even if you open, you will have, you know, 50% of your business, unless people and brands and companies reinvent themselves. For example, if I'm a restaurant, I'm gonna start, hey, how can I start doing like takeaways and trying to get some business, you know, thinking out of the box and trying to reinvent myself. How can we do what we were doing in the past in this new world? I think those are the brands that incumbent, they will succeed. The ones that can maintain and survive and then reinvent in the future. I don't think retailers, companies, they can expect to carry on doing the same, because Pietro, we don't live in the same world, man. We live in a new world, so we need to trying to do and execute things differently.
Yeah. So my next question actually was all about retail. I mean, I'm guessing, you know, retail is obviously shut down at the moment in Spain, just like it is here, but it's CE brands in particular. Are they still able to sell products? I mean, is Amazon and kind of all the other regular e-tailers still delivering? I mean, is it still possible for CE to continue selling?
Yeah, I mean, you can buy online here in Spain. The same in Latin America. Let me give you an example. Latin America, all the retail is closed until end of the month. Then we will see what happens. But you know, some CE brands, they can carry on doing business. Actually, most of my distributors that they do online business, they have seen their business growing and multiply times 10 in the past 3 weeks. So a small online business, the sales went crazy times 10, and large retailers times 3. So I think, you know, brands, they can carry on doing business. I think brands, they will have to again reinvent in the future, because you know, most of the retailers will suffer. Most of the retailers and also distributors, they will close business. So brands, they will have to find new distributors in the region. So I think online is growing, and yes, we can carry on doing some sales, but all the retail is closed here in Spain and also Latin America.
That is a really interesting point you just made about distributors and just kind of, I think in general, you know, routes to market, because, you know, there obviously is in Europe a kind of more traditional approach where a brand comes from the US or Asia, they get a distributor, they have some kind of help on the ground in terms of setting up, you know, sales channels. So like retailers, e-tailers, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, if you're just going to go direct to online and, you know, those guys have fulfillment units like Amazon, you know, there's argument to say that distributors will have to kind of remodel. You know, brands can kind of go straight to consumer via e-channels. But interestingly, in one of the other podcasts I've done with West Coast, for example,
yeah,
West Coast are doing at the moment incredibly well, because obviously they're one of the suppliers into things like NHS. They do a lot of remote working hardware like printers, ink, laptops. That again has, you know, kind of gone through the roof at the moment. But it's, I suppose, you know, the longer term is if you know, if the channel is changing in terms of how people buy product, you know, everyone's got to kind of adjust to that. I suppose there's still going to always be a need for fulfillment. So someone's going to have to like house the product in Europe.
Yeah.
But, you know, so that'd be interesting to see how it pans out.
In Spain, brands will always need the figure of the distributor, because it's very difficult for brands to ship direct, you know, and do direct business with some retailers. I mean, the figure of the distributor is very, very important in Latin America. First of all, in some places like Mexico, you require for most of the product certifications. Those certifications, they have to be in the name of the importer, of the distributor. So for example, if you want to sell to direct to 10 different retailers, you will need to apply for 10 different certifications, one certification per retailer, and pay for that certification. Having the distributor, you pay once, and then the distributor will sell to other retailers. So I think it's different than Europe. I think in Europe will be easier for some folks to do direct business with retailers. In Latam, they will require this like local distributor in Chile, in Colombia, you know, to make the importation. But so many things affect, you know, the region. Like, for example, right now, everything is closed in places like Colombia. You cannot ship products. I mean, they cannot import anything. Exchange rate went insane crazy. Let me give you an example. $1 in Mexico used to be 19 to 21 pesos. And I think since I have never seen the exchange rate up to 22 pesos, it went to 25, like, you know, 2 weeks ago. So everything went 40% more expensive. So I had many distributors that they had to pay some invoices from brands, and they had to hold, you know, the payment because, you know, they were paying 40% more on the exchange rate.
Yeah, their margin's probably only like 10%.
Yeah, and then imagine that they have to give, you know, net 60 to some retailers, and then in those 60 days, the exchange rate will go another 15% on top. So many things affect, you know, the business in Latam. That's why having like a local importer, like local distributor, will help all of the brands. And then, of course, in every country, online business is booming. I had a chat with a friend yesterday. He's a distributor in Chile. He was saying to me that in Latin America, like in Chile, shopping centers where people go and meet. And so it's not like in Spain that you can meet in a bar or you meet in on the street. Most of the people meet at the shopping center to, you know, everything is closed, man. So people cannot go into, you know, have a drink, or they cannot meet because the shopping malls are closed. So he was saying to me that, you know, consumers that they are not used to buy online. He was giving me this example that most of his friends, when they buy beer, they go to the, you know, supermarket and they buy the beer. They will never ever buy beer online. And right now, because everything is closed, they buy beer online. It's cheaper. They deliver to home, and this kind of like mentality is changing right now with the COVID-19. And those consumers in the future, they will carry on buy online because maybe in the past they were afraid or they didn't trust, you know, the online business. But because they have no choice and they can see it's a good, you know, wow, it works. I can buy online. It's okay. I think even when retail open, many people will carry on pushing sales online. So retailers are going to struggle even more, man.
Yeah, I think the whole one thing this whole pandemic has taught us is that, you know, a lot of people can quite happily work at home. So maybe it's going to change work patterns. Like you say, people are buying a lot of different products online now. I mean, I've bought a lot of stuff online in the last few weeks that I've never bought online before. You know, so people kind of, I think they may go much towards a much more sort of home-based lifestyle because they can order everything online. They can go, you know, they can work online. They enjoy more time with their family. It's kind of like, you know, that whole, like before, you know, COVID-19, I used to get on the train every morning at like, you know, 6:30 in the morning, you know, like everyone else in my village. Well, we get the train, we stay late, we'll get back at, you know, 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I'm getting up a little bit later. I'm still at my desk an hour before I would normally be there. You know, I'm kind of finishing later with work, but I'm still home like way earlier than I would be. It's kind of, so I'm a lot more productive in the daytime. You know, I mean, you know, it's not going to completely replace face-to-face working and being in the office, but, you know, I think there is definitely an argument to completely change, you know, everything that's just kind of drilled into you from you start work when you're, you know, 18, 19, whatever that might be. You know, it's kind of like, you know, humans are quite, what's the word? They're kind of very, you know, they do the same things over and over again. They're kind of almost institutionalized a bit, you know, with like working, you know, some people, like, they get married, they have kids. Like, it's a very kind of, you know, there's a well-trodden path before us. And like, situations like this, I think, can really completely alter everything that, you know, we've thought before. I mean, you know, the earth, for example, like, you know, apparently, like, you know, the Venice, the rivers are all clear, the dolphins are coming in, you know,
it's clean.
flowers are growing, pollution's down. Like, you know, it's almost like, I don't know, it's just, it's like the earth's resetting itself and everybody's just having a rethink about everything. It's just, but doesn't make it a good thing, man, but, you know.
And I think we are, at least us, we are complaining that we at home, like you, we can work from home. I think many brands are selling like products that you can use with your computer because, like you said, you don't have to travel. You can work from home with your laptop. So you're trying to find accessories that can, you know, help you on your day by day at home. But man, I think we are so lucky that we can be at home and we can work from home and we are not in a hospital. We are so, I think we do like a Zoom meeting every day with my team, for like hour and a half. We are like 9 people in my team, and we are at home, and you can see like they want to go back to the office, but at the end I think we are super lucky that we can work from home, and we are healthy, and we stay at home.
But it's like I say, obviously, I mean, we are the lucky ones. We can work at home, but there's, like say in Spain, there's those 300,000 bars that they're not thinking the same thing that we're thinking right now.
No, man. And again, hopefully people will have money after this to go and spend money in the bars. Like I told you, my brother who owns jewelry business, man, who's gonna buy jewelry, man?
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe not in the immediate future, but let's hope things get back to normal. So he needs to sell online. Maybe there's a bigger market online.
I mean, like I said, I think like places like Latin America, online business is growing a lot, and I have this. I work with a Garmin distributor in Colombia, and they have around 13 stores, and they have to close all the stores. And the guy is selling like a fitness equipment like crazy, like bicycles and everything's so online. So like you said, I think we are trying to get products that we can use at home, and his business previously was okay, but right now his business is just booming. And I think, like I said, because people has no choice, at least in Latam, and they have to buy online, these will change the mindset, and they will carry on buying online more in the future, because they see they can trust those retailers. It's easier. They will send it to you at home. You can pay with your credit card. So
in the Latin American market, so you mentioned the countries like Mexico, Chile, Argentina, Venezuela, Colombia. Are they all in lockdown as well? Is it the same?
It is the same. Yeah, they're in lockdown. Different countries apply different regulations. Like for example, Chile, they will all open the quarantine on Thursday this week, and then other areas in the country will go into quarantine. So they're doing this like by parts. And then the same other countries, they are in lockdown. Retailers are closed down, but I think maybe it's because of the culture, or they don't take this so seriously. I have seen the cases, and there are not many cases. I think it's around 52,000 infected today in Latam, and 2,500 deaths. So it's not too bad. I think because they go behind us, they prepare. Already they saw what happened in China like 2 months ago. They see what's going on right now in Europe, and they're taking advantage and prepare themselves. So right now it's not too bad, but yeah, they business and retail is closed and until end of April.
Yeah, I did wonder with countries like saying we were talking before this, we recorded it, but countries like Venezuela and Colombia, because obviously they're not so governed as they are here. Let's just say, whether it's easy to control countries like that in terms of shutting things down, and
I don't think so, man. And I think it's like they are out of control. They don't respect rules, and especially there are some people, man, that they need to leave home every day to just find food. This is like third world countries. They have to go. They leave home in the morning and they have to find some food because they have no jobs. They're really, really poor people, and you cannot leave those guys at home. And those are the guys that are easy to get the virus, and so actually I'm quite surprised the numbers are so low in some countries. Like Brazil, only like 25,000 cases, I think, but it's like 220 million people country. Yeah, let's see what happens in the next weeks, man. Maybe it's gonna go like crazy and go up, but so far it's not too bad, and hopefully they will keep this at this level.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I just wonder about maybe they're not identifying as many cases because maybe the testing is not as like in the UK, Spain, Italy, and most Western European countries. They're testing, so they know like how many people have got it because they're testing them. But in Latin America, maybe they're not. The tests aren't so they don't actually know what they've got. But
I have some clients in Colombia, and they told me that they had in Bogota. They had one machine, and this was the machine in charge of counting all the cases. And this machine broke down like 2 days ago, and they need some parts and spare parts from Germany, and they lost all the control. So I don't think they have no idea. They have no idea about how many cases. So like you said, I think they might count some cases, but maybe the reality is way different.
This is what they're saying in the UK. I mean, I think at the yesterday's count was something like 280,000 people had been tested and however many have got it. And then obviously the sad numbers that people are dying, but they're only people that are being tested. So they'd have no idea how many people in the UK actually have COVID-19 because some people aren't showing symptoms, some is very mild. It could actually be way more, but these are only people that have really bad symptoms that are being tested, and NHS workers, I think.
That was a question here in Spain, like a few days ago, that the government, some people were saying that we don't know the real numbers. Yeah. And the real numbers could be, times 5 times, who knows?
Yeah. In the UK, they've got, they're trying to launch an app that basically, they want most of the UK to kind of download, so you can start logging whether you've got symptoms, you've come in touch with anyone with symptoms, so they can start to get a picture of what's going on. And then if you've got symptoms, then they can warn other people around you that you've been in contact with that person. And actually, you should self-isolate for 2 weeks.
I heard the same here in Spain. Similar app. Yeah.
Yeah, they're worried though that I think I was watching the government briefing yesterday. They're worried about kids pretending that they've had it, so they all for the next 2 weeks, them and all their friends stay at home.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not funny, but I can definitely see some people abusing that. But so you mentioned before when we chatted last week that you felt there might be some opportunities for brands right now, kind of in Latin America or kind of wider afield. I mean, what would they be?
Yeah, I think again, online business is going to be huge, and I think most distributors, more consumers in Latam are hungry for new brands, are hungry for new products, especially European brands, European products. I think it's going to be once this ends and once retailers and the consumers start buying again, is going to be a good opportunity for some brands. And also I think because of the region has such a high taxes and issue with exchange rate and duties, most of the brands that have overstocks and inventory, and they will be able to sell that stock on a lower price in Latin America is a good place to liquidate those goods. So I think if because most of the brands, they might have extra stock, overstocks, Latin America could be a good solution to not only sell the products, also to start building the brands in certain territories.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you say there's obviously within Europe and maybe North America, there's a lot of brands that kind of aren't selling the product that they've got stocked right now. And if that is the situation, then moving forward, Latin America could be a good place to to liquidate the product.
If the price is right, there is a big opportunity to sell those goods in Latin America.
Yeah, that's interesting. So just changing the subject a bit. So obviously we were talking about there's potentially a bit of a paradigm shift moving forward with kind of brands and how they go about doing their business. But we're obviously, you and I have met at industry exhibitions all over the world many times. Shows already this year have been cancelled because of COVID-19. So Mobile World Congress, E3, we're both pretty sure that IFA won't be on. Could it knock on to CES next year just because of the amount of people that travel there from all over the world? But moving forward, now brands will have effectively done a whole year without exhibitions. Do you think that exhibitions have still got a part to play in consumer electronics moving forward, or do you think that brands are going to really start to rethink how they go about their business and look to promote and sell products through the year?
I think brands, they will need to find a more creative way to promote the brand, the products. Like you said, I don't think IFA is going to happen this year. I mean, it's in September, and like you said, also CES. Every year we go to CES. It's more than 250,000 people go to CES. It's a crazy place, a lot of people, and I don't see ourselves with all these people in the same, exhibition center or same city. So I think, like you said, Mobile World Congress was canceled. The Olympics has been canceled. So I don't see ourselves attending any trade show this year or early next year.
Yeah, I did notice that for the past few years, there's definitely been a growing trend for certainly brands that are more well known to not attend CES anymore. They're just getting like hotel suites.
Definitely.
And kind of doing their little exhibition there. So I think I wonder if even if CES doesn't get put on and we're allowed to travel again, brands might still use that week to actually, do a similar thing, but just without CES. Kind of, have it because I think brands still need like, a point where everybody gets together. I mean, that's one of the benefits of CES. It's not, I think the last 2 years I've hardly been in the exhibition. It's more kind of, having meetings, meeting people at hotel suites, that kind of thing. But, if you don't have that kind of point where everybody gets together, it's, just makes it more difficult to kind of meet buyers, prospects, whatever. So just be really interesting to see how it all pans out, I think.
I don't think IFA will happen because I think it's going to September, but I hopefully CES will happen. And like you said, yeah, brands, I think it's better for the brands to have like a suite, a room, because you can have your clients, you can, be more organized, it's more quiet. For consumers, it's a mess. It's very difficult because you have to go to the Sands Expo and go to Las Vegas Convention Center, then go back to the Bellagio, see another client at MGM. Man, it's terrible. Logistics at CES is crazy.
Yeah.
But I think, some of the brands, maybe they will stop doing some booths and get some, but at least CES is I don't think we can miss CES. It's the largest trade show in the world, and it's next year. So fingers crossed by that time things will be okay and we can see each other at the show, man.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But my fear is I think that international travel might be heavily restricted until there's a vaccine.
Yeah.
Because, all you really ask, CES, you think of the number of countries that people fly from to get to CES and the close proximity that you have with people at CES, it's kind of, it could restart the whole thing again. And it's the same time of year, January.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, fingers crossed. So look, Javier, I just wanted to thank you for your time today. That's all my questions.
My pleasure.
It's been great to learn about your business, to hear some of your views on Latin America. I definitely think some of the viewers of this podcast will be interested to know that, moving forward, if they need to kind of open up in Latin America or kind of, maybe sell on some overstock, Latin America and your company is definitely a place to do that. So yeah, look, I want to thank you for your time and let's stay safe.
Let's stay safe, man. Hopefully this will end very soon and we can carry on, go back to business as normal. Brand carry on doing, bringing some good products and carry on growing. So thank you again, Pietro, for the time and let's be safe and good. Thank you.